I forgot to mention in my last video some of the best vacations away from food I've ever taken. So I just mentioned that fasting is kind of like a vacation away from food, right? It's not depriving yourself of food, right? Just like when you take a weekend to go to Las Vegas, nobody feels like they're depriving themselves of work, right? Similarly, if you occasionally do a 48-hour fast, nobody's depriving themselves. So you're taking a vacation away from food and expanding yourself a little bit, right? So I thought, given that, I would talk about some past vacations that I've taken away from food. My most memorable one was at the beginning of Lent 2020, because at the time I had just made a New Year's resolution to normalize my relationship with food, and then I learned about Lent. I'm not very religious, so this is the first time I really followed it. My coworker had said that he wanted to quit smoking for Lent. Now, when he said it that way, it gave me a little bit of concern because it sounded like he was only going to deprive himself for 40 days, and then as soon as Lent was over, he was going to pick up a cigarette, right? It sounded like that. And so, out of curiosity, I asked him, well, why now? I mean, you never seemed like you had any signs of wanting to stop. And he told me that he didn't want to go outside when it was really cold. And we had a really brutal winter in 2020. And when he said it that way, it gave me even more concern, because at the end of at the end of Lent, I don't know if that would hold so true anymore, and he wouldn't have anything stopping him. And I said, okay, well, let's talk about it at the end of Lent. Good luck. That's what I thought, at least. And I made a goal to stop eating for Lent, obviously, not for the whole thing of Lent. I wanted to pretend it was going to be a 40-day fast, but as I began it, I knew it was not going to last more than 3 days. But it was nice to pretend that I'm not going to eat for 40 days. I want to do that one day. I'll probably need a lot of medical supervision to do that, but I do want to fast 40 days. I want to fast forever if I could, actually, but that's another story for another time. So we get to the end of Lent, and I call him to see how he's doing. And he said, oh yeah, I haven't smoked for... He forgot he had even quit smoking. That's how good he was doing. And he forgot he ever smoked, basically, until I kind of asked him about it. And he said that he doesn't want to smoke anymore. And I said, why? And he mentioned that he had saved a lot of money. That his financial troubles could have been a whole lot worse if he had continued to smoke during that time. Gotta remember, this is April of 2020. And he said now he doesn't want to go out, not because it's cold, because he doesn't want to risk catching the Chinese flu. He's not very he's not very shy about being politically incorrect. And during Lent, I had fasted a number of other times, right? See, had I not tried to go on a fast, I would have never explored all of this, right? It was fun to get to see the other side of my coworker. It was fun to see him quit smoking, although he has slipped up quite a few times since then. He didn't slip up during Lent, though. It was kind of weird. But now that people aren't so worried about Chinese flu anymore, well, I guess we should be more worried, but now people are kind of fatigued about it. And now that it's going to get cold again, so I'm kind of rooting for him. But I guess his attention on that has waned. See, he needs to treat it like taking a lifelong vacation away from those cigarettes, right? That's how he needs to treat his goal, right? He has the luxury of taking a lifelong vacation. I don't, right? And he doesn't feel lucky about that. Sometimes I remind him about that. He doesn't get it, though. Now, fast forward a few months, in June of 2020, we had the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone protests in Seattle. Now, I used to have a hard time going into loud environments. I have social anxiety problems, and I had gone on a 24-hour fast before going to Chaz, and I felt very lightweight. Nothing could bother me. And I got to explore a little bit, got to mingle with some people there, got to... it was nice, because you got to remember at that point, it had been 3 months since we had any sort of human contact, right? And to go into a big crowd like that and not feel anxious about it, it was good. Although my parents were very upset when they found out that I had participated in anything like that. My mom was very worried, because she had hoped that, you know, this is back when we really thought COVID-19 was going to end soon. She wanted me to go home to family after COVID-19 was over, and now I was going to this high-risk event, and she didn't know if I would catch COVID-19, and so she was very upset about that. she was also a little bit concerned about safety, although I went during the broad daylight. You know, it's not like I went, but I got to explore a little bit, right? That's what I meant by taking a vacation. Now, in the second half of 2020, I spent a lot of time living in the Rocky Mountains, right? I started with Helena, Montana, and then I went to Missoula. I did a lot of long fasts while I was in Montana. I did, on September 11th of 2020, I went on a 2,996-minute fast, one for every victim of September 11th. And I distinctly remember how delirious I felt on that second day of the fast. I was walking around on the trails in Missoula and just trying to count down the hours. And I was living in a house with 4 other people and talking about fasting and all that. And they thought I was depriving myself. They thought I was killing myself. And then I explained to them about how much I've discovered since fasting, right? Sometimes in the middle of fasting, when I can't do anything useful, I discover the most fascinating YouTube video on YouTube, and I talk to some of these creators. And, you know, I do a lot of things that I normally wouldn't do when I'm not fasting, right? And that's good. And then we get to the holiday season, and I went to a festival in Wallace, Idaho. Now, this past year, I'm trying to think what are some of the best fasts I ever did. I came home to Seattle during the spring, and I went on a 2-day fast during Easter, and I went to a church service. And it was around that time when I broke up with my girlfriend, and I was really excited about finally being alone again, and I took a lot of long-distance walks on the trail in Redmond. I think I recorded a video of the day I broke up, and I started I took up bowling back in August of 2020, and around the time of my breakup is when I really started to get really good at it. My highest score so far is 241, but fasting usually helps with that too. And then we get to June. I moved out to Phoenix, Arizona, and I did a 24-hour fast for my personal anniversary. June 13th was the anniversary of the first time I ever went on a quote-unquote solo sexual date. And I took a walk around Phoenix, recorded a video about being happily solo sexual, and I visited Desert Botanical Garden. And that became one of my favorite places. I had a membership there, and that became one of my favorite places in the Phoenix area. You see, I would have never explored any of that had I just been happily eating along, right? You get so accustomed to eating all the time that you forget there is life outside of food, right? And then in Phoenix, I was regularly doing a 21+ hour fast there, right? It was a lot easier there compared to here in Seattle. So there isn't much memory there except for the very long ones that I did. On September 11th, I ended up fasting 61 hours. I was gonna do my regular 2,996 minutes, but I felt so good after those 2,996 minutes that I just kept going, right? And I thought for sure I was going to fast myself to death because I felt so good about the fasting that I thought that I'd rather have 2 months of really good life than 80 years of shitty life, right? That's how I thought. I even talked to my family about where I wanted my ashes to go. I wanted half of it to go in Wallace, the other half to go in Gdansk Bay. And my parents were very upset that I would think like that, but it's not because I'm suicidal. It's because I enjoy fasting life to the extent that 2 months of that is worth more than 80 years of shitty life, right? That's how I feel about it. And this time around, I might fast myself to death. I'm already 36 hours into it. I'm seriously considering it just because of how good I feel. Very lightweight, nothing bothering me. You know, I can think very objectively. I can explore new things. You know, my attention wanes in and out, but that's good because when I'm not able to focus on my favorite tasks, I can focus on other things and make new connections. And so, anyways, this may be my very last fast and I might just go this time. I'm seriously thinking about it because I really love it so much. So I went 61 hours on September 11th, 2021, 20-year anniversary. And then a few days after that, we had Yom Kippur. That one was painful because you couldn't drink fluids either. I was, I wouldn't say dating a girl. I was very close friends with a girl there. I think she is also partially solosexual. So we had our own parallel relationships, and we were very close to one another. I need to find somebody like that in my life. And I gave her a little bit of support for Yom Kippur by going on the fast with her. So no solid foods, no fluids, no leather shoes, no washing yourself, and most painfully, no masturbating. I need to masturbate a lot every time I fast. Oh, that's the other reason why I want to continue fasting until I die. It really ramps up my sex drive and kind of forces me to go out and mingle with people, right? Because of that big drive, right? And then I masturbate a lot too, right? Anyway, so I went on the 25-hour fast with her, and I liked it because even though it was painful not to have any fluids to drink, after that I never took for granted having clean water to drink again, right? That's not something you can take for granted around the world, right? Anyways, repeat after me. I'm taking a vacation away from food. I'm taking a vacation away from food.